We are live. What's good, y'all? Welcome to I Really Want to Know podcast. Your man Dale saying, how y'all feeling? Yes. I know I'm early. You guys know we got a show on Friday. We got a comedy show we've been really working hard on Friday. And tonight we have to do a bunch of promoting, which means I'm gonna be out the majority of the night. So had to come on early, guys. Hope you guys doing well. Hope you guys catch me. Hope you guys find me. But we're just gonna pick up where we left off yesterday. We were talking about George Gammon, and George Gammon was talking about UBI or GIP, which is another term that might start getting kicked around, the GIP, the Guaranteed Income Program, stimmy money, stimulus checks, and all that kind of stuff. So we're gonna see. Like, there's a lot going on with the economy right now. The Fed has made it clear that they are not going to lower the rates anytime soon. They haven't raised them yet, but they're gonna keep them where they are right now. I believe there's gonna be some interest rate hikes, but I don't know. What do I know? I'm just in your body. But we were looking at a video from Jaspreet Singh, and wanted to finish that up, and I wanted to also react to a video from Lucky Lopez. Lucky's a YouTuber, man. He's in the automotive market. He was a dealer and like a big dealer, and he kind of stepped out of the market for a while, and now he's kind of, breaking down how that works. And I think it's really, I think we should really look at what's going on in that market from someone who knows that world. I don't know if you guys are out here, like, you really follow what's going on in the car world. That's kind of like my cousin's hobby. He kind of keeps us out in the automotive world. He's like, bro, it has fallen like through the floor. It's kind of crazy, especially with new cars. Banks are not loaning, guys. Banks aren't loaning money, man. They have tightened lending standards up to like crazy standards, and people are in trouble. So just wanted to get into that, man. Just want to talk about that. We're gonna make this a pretty quick show. We're hopefully try to make it quick. Every time I say that, I wind up being one of the longest shows I ever had. But anyway, let's get into it. And we are live. What's good, y'all? Welcome to the I Really Want to Know podcast, y'all. So, yeah, we're gonna get into this. I was kind of looking at the trailer. I love those trailers, man. I'm definitely gonna get more into some like dating stuff again, red pill dating stuff. I've been putting a lot of shorts out there from our conversation we had with Sister Mel. There's more shorts coming. YouTube is pushing the shorts like crazy. That's where 80% of the views are coming from, guys. It's coming from those shorts. So I'm gonna keep putting up shorts, keep doing long form, but the shorts are what YouTube is pushing. And if this TikTok thing happens, like maybe 6 months or a year from now, if TikTok gets banned in America, which it probably will, because there's no way the Chinese Communist Party is going to let that go, let that get sold away and lose control of that platform. Who knows what's going to happen after that? So, but yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. We got Scam Likely in the building. What is good, Dusto, man? How you feeling, bro? Good to see you. I hope you come to the show tomorrow, man. I hope you can make it down. It's gonna be cool. Pookie Hybrid in the building. What's the word, deal? What's good, fam? How you feeling, man? Good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, man. We're gonna sit here and talk a little bit about what's going on with the economy and what's going on, with these different markets. So we're gonna continue where we left off. So yeah, we're going to continue where we left off, and we're going to talk about interest rates going down. We're going to talk about what that means for the economy slowdown and the cost of living. Remember, yesterday we were talking about we were reacting to George Gammon, and Jaspreet Singh came up there towards the end. We're going to finish up with this, and then we're going to roll it into what's going on with the automotive industry, man. I'm telling you, man, dealerships are closing. Like, it's really having an impact on the economy. It's having an impact on jobs and stuff like that. No one's really talking about it in mainstream media. Some are, but most people aren't right now. But trust me, they will be. They will be soon. So let's get into it.
And this is where now the Federal Reserve Bank is having to make that decision now, because now people are questioning if they want to pay that much of an interest rate on their mortgage. So it's a way to cool down demand. And when mortgage rates are 3%, we saw home prices shoot up much faster than what they were doing now. So this is what the Federal Reserve Bank is doing. They work to increase interest rates as a way to cool down demand, as a way to cool down price growth. And this is where now the Federal Reserve Bank is having to make that decision of when do we start cutting interest rates? And the reason they want to cut interest rates is because a lot of people are saying, please cut interest rates so we can buy a home. Please cut interest rates so we can buy a car. Please cut interest rates so my credit card becomes cheaper. But the Federal Reserve Bank is also having to decide now, how do we cut interest rates and also keep inflation low? Because if we start cutting interest rates and mortgage rates go down, car rates go down, and people start buying things all over again, that can make the inflation problem worse again. And this is why the Federal Reserve Bank keeps saying that we want to see inflation steadily come down to the 2% target, which is what they keep saying, before they start cutting interest rates. When will that be? Well, nobody knows. The Federal Reserve Bank is hopeful that this will happen in 2024. But if you want my personal opinion, it is important for the Federal Reserve Bank to solve the inflation problem before they start worrying about interest rates. Because if we run into an inflationary crisis, a currency crisis, that's much more difficult to solve than the impacts of higher interest rates. Because
and I wanted to pause you right there because he's absolutely right. Like Jerome Powell is determined to get interest rates down, although it seems that they're starting to move their target goals. It was 2%. They can't get it down to 2%. It was hovering a little bit above 3%. Now it's getting close to 4%. I'm talking about inflation. So, Jerome Powell's now using magic words and starting to say different things. It sounds like they might be moving the goalposts. It sounds like they might be changing their goals. But whatever they're doing right now, they're not lowering interest rates and they're not raising interest rates. They kind of kept interest rates stable where they are. We're going to see how long this holds, because the economy ain't going to get any better anytime soon. Interest rates are going to stay where they are, if not creep up, because inflation is still not under control.
Impacts of higher interest rates are, of course, number two, an economic slowdown. Higher interest rates hurt the economy. They cool down asset prices. They cool down businesses. Now you might be wondering, well, how does that work? Well, think of it this way. If you wanted to go out and buy a home that you like, you found this $500,000 home that's listed for sale, and now you have two mortgage options. One is a 3% mortgage, one is a 7% mortgage. Well, you might be willing to pay more money if it's a 3% mortgage because, well, it's going to cost you a whole lot less month over month versus the 7% mortgage. If it's a 7% mortgage, you might need a discounted price. And this is why generally, higher interest rates cool down asset prices. But it's not just asset prices. It also has to do with businesses. Because if you're a business and you have debt, you're generally not getting a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. You're generally getting some sort of adjustable rate mortgage, which is going to readjust every few years. So now, lots of businesses, pretty much every business, refinanced their debt in 2020 and 2021 and maybe even into 2022 because interest rates were at their lowest levels in the history of America. So now businesses across the country were refinancing their debt. But now as those readjustments come due in 2024 and 2025 and 2026, well, interest rates are a whole lot higher today than what they were before, which means as a business, your costs to service that debt might be a whole lot higher today than they were a few years ago, not because you necessarily went out and took on more debt, but because interest rates are so much higher. So now we're in an environment where you have this tidal wave of commercial real estate debt that's beginning to readjust in 2024. And you also have this huge amount of corporate business debt that's starting to readjust in 2024. We have more debt readjusting in 2025, but it's starting in 2024. So now the question is, well, you have all these landlords and all these businesses that are going to see their debt levels readjust in 2024 and 2025 and 2026. If interest rates stay higher, what is that going to do for them? Well, that means their costs are going to rise.
Right. So that's going on right now. If that is the storm that is about to hit, that's the commercial real estate storm. All that debt is being readjusted and all that debt is going to readjust up. So people who are in at 2.5%, 3%, maybe 3.25% financing all their debt, and we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars in some cases. Well, now they're going to be financing that debt at 7, 7.5%, maybe 8%. And that's enough to put the company under, right? That's the crisis. That's what's looming out there. And banks have tightened lending standards. Banks gonna want more to lend you less. And these corporations got to figure out ways to tighten the belt. What are they going to do? They're going to lay people off. They're going to stop projects. They're going to do whatever they got to do to remain profitable. And we're starting to see that. Look at all the headlines. How many people are getting laid off at all these big corporations all over America? Thousands of people are getting laid off. Some of those people are getting severance packages. So all that does is delay them being officially unemployed until the severance is over, which is normally, anywhere from 6 months to a year. But after that, now they're officially unemployed. So the numbers look kind of skewed out there. Like, oh man, America unemployment numbers are the lowest they've ever been. Right. But there's a lot of people who are technically employed that don't have a job. They know that they're just waiting out their severance and then they're going to be unemployed. And, they're trying to find comparable work, making what they were making or close to it. Everyone else is also laying off. So are there jobs out there? Yeah. There are tons of jobs out there. Walmart's hiring, Target's hiring, FedEx is hiring. I'm talking about like FedEx Kinko's is hiring, not the big FedEx. FedEx is laying off drivers. UPS is laying off drivers and laying off factory workers and stuff like that. The automotive industry, like the factories, they're laying off. So it's here. You feel me? Like the correction is here. Because of the lending tightening, because of the high interest rates, because inflation was getting out of control, this is the pain that everyone is beginning to deal with now. And this is just the beginning. We ain't got into the worst of it yet.
Now, generally what you do as a business or a landlord when your costs rise is you pass this cost down to your consumers. That's the way that an economic system works. When McDonald's has to pay more money for their stuff, they charge their consumers more money. That's how business works. If a business has to pay more money, they pass this cost down to the consumers. So now, if costs start to rise significantly because of their debt costs, that could mean that businesses have to go out and raise more money. They have to get more revenue. And that could be especially tough during a time where a lot of Americans are already struggling with their finances. For example, like I said just a minute ago, our economic system runs on spending. The more money you spend, the more money somebody else makes. Well, what we've seen up until today is that the American consumer is strong, which has kept the economy moving. Now, what does that mean? If the American consumer is strong, that means that Americans are spending money. But you have to pay attention to that with what's also going on the other end of the picture. Because what we're also seeing is right now we have broken a record for hardship withdrawals from 401ks. What does that mean? We're seeing a record number of Americans pulling money out of their long-term retirement accounts. That way they can continue paying for their groceries. And in addition to that, we also have a record amount of credit card debt in America today. So now, what does all this mean?
Y'all see that. Y'all see that. People are taking money out of their 401ks. Why? Because they can't get the money from the bank. And they're not making more money at work. And they have this lifestyle they got to pay for. And then there's, credit card debt. And what he hasn't mentioned here, but he has a video out. I think he put a video out today about buy now, pay later. People are doing this. People are going to the grocery store. They're going to restaurants or wherever. And they're financing groceries. They're financing the night out with the buy now, pay later kind of plan. It was like, oh, okay, well, you're going to go out and buy yourself some groceries. You got 4 payments to get these groceries. If you make all 4 payments on time, there's no interest. But if you miss any one of those payments, you got to pay all the interest for the entirety of everything. And the interest is like insane. I can't even believe it's legal, to be honest with you, bro, what they're doing. People are doing that. They're going out doing it. We're going to go out and have dinner. We're going to do all that now, but we're going to pay later. It's kind of like the wimpy thing from Popeyes. You know what I mean? When he's always asking for hamburgers and paying later or whatever. I'm going to have to look that up. What was Wimpy saying? I'll pay you tomorrow for a hamburger today or something like that from the old Popeye commercial. I'm going to have to look that up. You know what I mean? It was like one of the running gags for this character in the Popeye cartoons, which is a very old cartoon. If you're not my age or older, you probably ain't never even heard of Popeye. So, Popeye the Sailor Man. But the point is, everyone has been living above their means. Money has been cheap. They got into these lifestyles that they really can't afford. And now they're trying to figure out how they can stay afloat. So they're hitting their 401ks up. there's a penalty behind that. But you're like, man, screw it. I need to take this money out. I'll deal with the penalty later so I can, manage another 6 months, you know what I mean, or whatever. Maybe another month. Man, I can just go another month. Everyone's, you know what I mean, maxed out their credit. You look at the defaults and stuff like that. So, and again, this is just the beginning. Because you imagine you're doing this stuff, man. You're taking money out of your 401k. You're doing the buy now, pay later stuff. And that's not enough. And then you lose your job. Like you get laid off. Okay, maybe they give you severance. Let's say you're higher up enough to get severance. They give you a severance package. So you're looking at like, man, I'm only going to get, 40% of what I've been making or whatever it is. Now you really feel the heat. I got to go find another job and no one's hiring for your skill set. So what are you going to do? You're going to go get a job making less money, trying to figure it out. It's crazy. Let's continue.
Americans are spending money like crazy. Part of the reason why they're spending money like crazy is because they have to, because everything is so much more expensive. Rent is expensive, groceries are expensive, travel is expensive, cars are expensive. Everything is way more expensive than what it was before. Are Americans making more money today than they were 5 years ago? Yes. But has income grown as fast as the cost of living? Generally, for most Americans, no. So now we have a lifestyle today that costs more than it did a few years ago, where incomes generally have not risen fast enough to keep up with the higher cost of living. And so now many Americans, to keep up with their lifestyles, are pulling money out of their 401ks, or they're going into credit card debt to continue funding their lifestyles. This is now kind of causing those concerns of, well, are we going to see any issues in the economy? And more recently, what we have seen happen is this worry about the recession has kind of faded away. Part of the reason for that is because the stock market has been booming. Part of the reason for that is because crypto prices has been booming. Part of the reason for that is because the real estate market has been booming. So a lot of people are not really worried about that, but you also want to remember this. Nobody can perfectly time the economy. Nobody can perfectly predict when a recession is going to happen. That's impossible. I don't want you to do that, but I want you to also remember that recessions are a part of our economic system. Our economy goes through booms and our economy goes through down periods. That's just a fact. Our economy has gone through a recession pretty much every decade for the last century. And one of the kind of common themes before any recession is that recessions don't happen when everybody's predicting a recession to happen. Recessions generally happen when people don't think a recession is going to happen. Because when people don't think a recession is going to happen, they let go of all their money. They spend their money or they throw their money into investments, so they don't have that same money on the sidelines. When people are worried about a recession, they have a lot of money sitting on the sidelines waiting for any pullback. But you can't have a recession if everyone's just sitting on cash. And this is where you got to remember, there's been a lot of money created over the last few years. So there's a lot of money that had to be deployed. But this is where I just want you to also understand that there are risks in our economic system. Now, does this mean you shouldn't be investing your money, that you need to be worried about the economy? No. This means you got to be smart and just understand what's going on in our economic system, which also brings me to number 3, which is, of course, what's going to happen with the cost of living. Now, the thing that I want you to understand about this is, first,
we all know what's going to happen with the cost of living. It's going up. Remember, a couple of days ago, stopped at Taco Bell, which don't go to Taco Bell, y'all. I haven't been to Taco Bell in decades. I had to grab something. I just wanted to grab something real quick, and that was literally the only thing that I saw. Pulled in there, I got a burrito and a soda, and it costs $8 and some change. Not a meal package when you get like the drink and the fries. No. I just got a burrito and a soda. It was $8 and some change, man. Cost of living is going up. Everyone knows that. Go to the grocery store if you don't believe me. Go back and look at your receipts from a year ago, 4 years ago, and compare them to your receipts today at the same grocery store. You're going to see that you're spending way more money. You know what I mean? Beyond gas, and gas goes up and down or whatever, but even gas is more expensive for various reasons. Groceries are more expensive right now. The cost of goods and services have gone up. And a lot of that has to do with inflation. And this is how the interest rates affect an economy slowdown, which affect the cost of living.
First off, inflation is a compounding number. The inflation that we're seeing in 2024 is on top of the inflation in 2023. And the inflation in 2023 is on top of the inflation that we saw in 2022. And the inflation that we saw in 2022 is on top of the inflation that we saw in 2021. Now, if you remember, back in 2021, this is when the White House came out and said that inflation is transitory. The Federal Reserve Bank said that inflation was transitory. It took until 2024 for everybody to say, oh, sorry, we were wrong about this whole transitory inflation thing. Well, inflation was not transitory, which means that the inflation has compounded year over year over year. And over these years, the average American has not seen their income grow year over year over year fast enough to keep up with inflation. Now, the big news that a lot of people like to talk about now is that in the tail end of 2023, reported incomes grew faster than cost of living. Reported incomes grew faster than inflation. This is good news. That means people were making more money than the cost of living growth in the tail end of 2023. But the full picture of that is people were losing money in 2021 and 2022 and most of 2023 because the cost of living kept growing faster than incomes. So yay, the cost of living grew slower than people's incomes in the end of 2023. But relative to the whole picture from 5 years ago, a lot of Americans are broker today than they were before. So now
we're broker today than we were 5 years ago. And does it look like it's getting better? No, especially with all these layoffs. You got all these layoffs that are popping off. Nah, it ain't getting any better. It's one of those things, y'all. It's one of those things. You know, I'm old enough to remember a few recessions. Right. When I was a kid, money was tight, you know, back in the late 70s and then into the 80s. When you got into the mid 80s, mid to late 80s, it was pretty bad. And you got into the 90s when that wasn't that terrible. But then we had the housing thing in the 2000s, like end of the 90s and into the 2000s. So like you said, it goes up, it goes down. This stuff happens. Right. The biggest thing in America right now is, you know, this was all leading up to an election year. So most of the stuff that you hear, you know, that's on people's mind. They're trying to configure the news in such a way that it doesn't hurt the incumbent president. And then the other side is trying to configure the news in such a way that it does hurt the incumbent president, which is how it works. What is the truth? We don't know. That's why we're watching this guy.
If we continue to see this higher cost of living growth, which it will take time to bring inflation down, well, if your income is not growing fast enough to keep up with real inflation, because you got to also remember that reported inflation numbers are often not what many people feel. I mean, the reported grocery inflation for the last few years is around 22%, meaning in 2020 and today, $100 groceries should cost $122 today. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, $100 grocery cart costs a whole lot more than $122 today if it cost $100 back in 2020. So just understand the reported inflation is a little bit different than what many Americans actually feel. But if your income is not rising fast enough to keep up with inflation, then you are reportedly becoming poorer year after year after year because of the inflation. And this is where now it is so important for you not just to be a consumer with your money, but to also be an investor, because at the same time, well, investors have become extremely rich over the last few years. Because people that were buying stocks in 2019 and 2020 and 2021 have made huge returns. People that were invested in real estate made huge returns. People that were even buying cryptocurrency. Now, that is a speculative asset. I'm just talking relatively here. People that were buying cryptocurrency have also seen a lot of huge returns. This means that for you to actually build wealth in this economic system, you can't just make money and spend money. You have to make money and invest money, which means you cannot spend all your money. Now, the reason why that's so difficult, because that means you can't spend all of your money during a time where everything is keep getting more expensive. That means you got to stop spending some money so you have more money to invest. That requires, first step, financial discipline. And then you got to learn, how do you actually invest this money? Now, there's a lot of different ways to invest your money. I mean, you can put your money into the stock market. You can invest your money into real estate. But I want you to understand a couple things. Number one is that investing is a long-term game. We could see a recession in 2024 or 2025 or 2026. If we see a recession and markets go down, you could lose money temporarily, but you got to remember, you don't actually lose money until you sell. And that means you got to have the psychology to withstand market ups and downs. Because guess what? The market goes up and it goes down. Nobody knows what the stock market is going to do in 2024, 2025, and 2026. But if you're 35 years old, well, now you should be investing with a 30-year investment span, not with a 6-month investment span. So the first thing you got to understand is you got to have this long-term mindset and understand the markets will go up and down. And when markets go down, that's not a time for you to panic and sell off and just run away. That's a time for you to buy more aggressively, because those create huge investment opportunities. When the 2020 pandemic hit and the markets were crashing, I was out buying stocks like crazy. When the 2008 real estate market crashed, I was out and buying real estate. These create investment opportunities for those who are financially educated. Then the second thing is,
and he's right about that, but a lot of people just not only do they don't have the education, they don't have the discipline, they don't have the resources. They're too busy trying to stay afloat because people have been spending, spending, spending. So what he's saying makes a lot of sense, but you have to figure out how to do that, especially on a single income. And then people will come together. They have relationships, they get together, and they continue to spend instead of invest. Most people are programmed to spend. People aren't programmed to save and invest. That's just a generational thing that's really hurt America. That's like one of the other factors that comes into play here. You can go back to George W. Bush, who's telling people, go out there and spend money. Just spend, spend, spend. You go another 40 years back, people were like, nah, save your money. Penny pinchers, a dollar saved is a dollar earned. That used to be the motto for Americans. Now it's go get it. Feel good. Get them shoes, get that bag, get that car. And money is cheap. So money was cheap and people did go get it. Now money isn't cheap anymore. And all that debt, the cost to service all that debt is going up. So what he says makes sense. If you can figure it out, and this is one of the things I really love about YouTube. Get on YouTube and figure these things out, educate yourself, learn these things, and somehow find that discipline and make it happen. And you can do it no matter what the economy is doing. If you're out here working, you can go out and work a little harder and make a little extra money and put that away. But like you said, it's for the long term. You're not putting that money away for next year or 6 months down the road. You're putting it away for 30 years, 40 years down the road. But a lot of people weren't doing that. So let's continue.
Yes, well, what should you be buying? Because the mistake that a lot of people make is, well, if I bought a bad asset, it could go bankrupt, which is very true. But this is where you want to understand how do you invest your money into the right assets. That way you can have the right diversification to protect you. Because if you're not investing in the financial education to understand how do you have a good asset versus a bad asset, well, now you could be investing your money into the next Sears, which of course was a great stock until it went bankrupt. So this is where understanding, well, you could also just invest your money into the stock market, or understanding how to invest your money in real estate, which of course, I have my real estate workshop coming. If you want to join, it's free. I got the link for you down in the description. But the whole idea here is you got to understand that you need to be an investor. And if you want to be a successful investor, this is where you need to be investing in your financial education. That way you know how to invest your money. That way you can win when markets are up and when markets are down, because markets go up and down. And this is where you got to understand that nothing can go straight up forever. And most things don't go straight down forever as well. But this requires you to understand what's going on. That way we can capitalize on the way that our economic system works. Well, by the time...
Which, shout out to him, because he's telling the truth. That's minority mindset, ladies and gentlemen, minority mindset. Check him out. He has some good content over there. Some really good content. And he gives a perspective that a lot of people don't. And of course he's pushing his courses. He's going to teach you how to, invest your money and how to, maybe become more responsible and more disciplined. It's cool. I'm pretty sure he has some products that he is charging people for, but most folks in that space, they'll give you a lot of sauce for free. And if you want the super sauce, you got to pay for it. So I encourage folks to get out there and get as much information as they can. Listen to these people, get inside their head, pick their brains, and, get that free knowledge that they're giving you, and then go read, go get some books, go read, go to the library. A lot of stuff is in the library. A lot of this stuff is online. You can read for free. There are other, seminars out there for free. Just go out there, get this information, and figure out what's going to work for you and what's best for you and your family, and move accordingly. Don't get crazy with it. Don't get frustrated with yourself if you start saving up and then something happens and you have to spend all your savings, or you made a bad investment or whatever and you pull it out too soon. Don't get frustrated with yourself. Just get back, go back to square one and rebuild and start all over. I don't offer any courses, but I am out here looking at a bunch of stuff. And if I find some courses that I think are real good, man, I'll let y'all know. And if y'all find some courses that are real good, please let me know. Hit me up in the comments, whatever. Jump on here live, put up some links. Let me know. Because this is the only way we're going to get through this, y'all. So let's talk about cars, right? Let's talk about the car business out here, right? And a lot of people, this is Lucky Lopez. This guy is, I was telling you about earlier, he's in the automotive market. I saw him on Fresh and Fit some months back. Real cool dude. He's real mellow. And he just breaks it all the way down. He has a really good channel. It's everything, about the car business. This particular episode on this, he was talking about new auto loans getting denied. And I was saying like the banks are being really, really tight with their lending standards, and especially in the auto world. If you're out there looking for a car now, you're probably looking at an upside down car market. Dealers are going out of business. They're losing their cars. The auctions are so crowded with vehicles that people aren't even making money off the auctions. A lot of cars aren't even getting sold at auctions because people can't get the money they need, like to get their money out of it at an auction, which is crazy. The medium-sized car lots, the dealers, those independent dealers, they're going out of business. Their cars are being repossessed. Imagine that. You're a dealer and your cars are being repossessed. Why? Because everything is done with credit. And again, the interest rates have gone up. So people were kind of stuck in these cars. They invested so much money in these cars and they can't sell them to get their money out of them, and they can't take all the losses. They can't take them to the auctions to get any money for them. The banks are coming to take these cars back. It is crazy out here. So Lucky Lopez was talking about why people are getting denied on new cars. Let's check this out.
What's going on, YouTube family? Welcome to Automotive Life. My name is Lucky, and today we're going to be talking about why so many people are being turned down for auto loans. Now, I talk to dealers all across the United States, and I keep hearing the same thing over and over again. It's getting much harder to get people approved for cars. Now, a lot of this is caused by the record high delinquencies and repos that are currently going on right now in the market. But I want to give you guys a breakdown of how it actually affects the consumers when you're shopping for cars at a dealership. Now, first, before I get started, I'm going to tell everybody, if you're going car shopping, always get pre-approved. It's the best thing to do because at least you know what you're working with. The problem is a lot of people think that they can buy a much more expensive car than what they can get. So let's talk about the 3 things that are most important to a bank when they're looking at your deal at a dealership.
So I just want to stop it real quick. He's absolutely right. When I would go out buying cars, I haven't bought a car in a while. When I would go out and buy cars, I would go to my credit union and I would get a loan for an amount of money. Right. So I would say, all right, this is how much money I'm comfortable spending for this car. I would do all of my own research. Like, all right, I'm going to go, 36 months, 48 months, or whatever I'm going to go on whatever amount of money I'm going to go with. And I'm like, okay, so they're going to give me X amount of dollars. Now I'm going to go get the car that I want for that amount of money. So if I went to my credit union, it's like, hey, I want, $40,000. I'm like, I just applied for $40,000. I'm like, okay, you're approved for $40,000. And the bank will say that includes taxes and titles and all that kind of stuff, right? So it's 40 grand. All right, cool. I can go to a dealership or I could go to a private owner, whatever I want to do. This is how much money I have to spend. I got 40 grand. So now I'm like, okay, what kind of car do I want? So I already have an idea. So I'm like, all right, if I want to get a BMW for interest, like, okay, well, maybe I'll get this BMW 5 Series this year with, this model with this package with this amount of miles on it. And I'm willing to pay, $28,000 for this car. Right. And I know I'm good. I don't have to worry about financing. Like if I'm dealing with a dealership and, they're always trying to upsell you and all this other kind of stuff. Well, there's only this much of money. They're doing whatever. We're financing. Like I'm not worried about financing. As far as I'm concerned, this is a cash deal because I have the check from the bank. I know how much I can spend. So like this is a cash deal. I'm not worried about it. And if you go out there and you know how much you're working with, don't tell the dealer. The dealer's not your friend. Don't tell the salesman, my bank approved me for 40,000 because he's going to try to get you in a situation where they take that 40,000 and get you to put more money up. Well, you got 40,000 guaranteed, but this car over here is really, really nice and less miles. Just give us another $10,000 on top of your 40. You could drive off the lot today. Nah, don't do that. Don't do that. Know what you want. Know the kind of vehicle you want. Do all your research. Get your VIN numbers. It's a lot of work getting a car these days. If you want to get yourself a good deal, you got to check the Carfaxes, get all the VIN numbers. You got to go online, go drive each car. If you get with a used car, you got to drive each car. And then I always like to look at having insurance on those cars. I'm buying a used car. I want to get insurance with that. So your lending institution, normally your credit union, your bank, will also have that option as well. Like, hey, I want to buy a warranty with this vehicle. You can even get a service plan with these vehicles a lot of time, and maybe it only costs you another $3,000, maybe $5,000, depending on what you get. But Lucky is 100% correct. Go out there, right? Get the money from the bank, secure the funds first. And the best way to buy a car, I ain't gonna lie to you, if you can buy cash money, that's the best way to do it. But I mean, who has an extra 50, 30, 40, $50,000 laying around? Most people don't. Miss AKA ladies in the building, what's good, sis? She's like, hey, still at work, just lying through the show, support. Thank you. Hit that like button, y'all. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. And I'll see you tomorrow. Can't wait to see you, shorty. Cannot wait to see you and your girl. Y'all coming through for the show. Thanks for the support. We got a good show lined up. It's gonna be fun. It's going to be a good time. I promise you. I promise you. Promise you. Look forward to seeing you. Thanks again for the support. I know you're at work. So let's get back to Brother Lucky.
The first one is your vehicle, which is going to be represented by my G6x6. The second is the actual individual, which is represented here by Batman. And the third is your income and your down payment. These three factors play a critical role on which bank is going to take your actual deal. Now, there are three different types of banks. We have our prime bank, which are for people with better credit. We have our subprime bank, which is for people with okay credit. And deep subprime is for people with really bad credit or repos or things like that. Each of those banks have different criteria when it comes to lending. There's this thing called a lending wheel or a lending chart. Whatever banks you use, they're going to call it different things. And what this means is every bank looks at deals differently. So some banks may say, hey, we're going to finance what's called LTV, loan to value. Prime banks usually lend anywhere from 110 to 130% LTV. So if you want to buy a brand new G-Wagon with no down payments and you have good credit, they'll let you finance that and throw in an aftermarket warranty. Subprime banks, they tend to do about 80 to 95% of actual retail value or loan to value. So that means you have to put a down payment down. They won't finance a lot of extras. They'll just give you the basic loan. And deep subprime, you're going to have to bring a big down payment. Now, traditionally, these numbers mattered a lot. And I made a lot of videos in the past. But in the last 3 years, banks have basically taken those numbers and thrown them out the window. They were giving everybody and their grandma loans that we knew that they couldn't afford. I've heard stories of people literally trying to trade in an $80,000 car to buy a $90,000 car, but they bring home 40 grand a year. You should never buy a car that costs more than what you make annually. That's usually a rule for banks, but for some reason, during the pandemic, they threw all those rules out the window. So let's go ahead and start our first.
Yeah, why did they throw those rules out the window, y'all? Because money was cheap. They didn't care. They wanted to stimulate the economy. Stimmy money was out there. The banks didn't care. Same thing happened with the subprime lending with the home market back in 2007, 2008, and 9. Leading up to that, the ninja loans, no job, no income, people just stated income. Same thing. Instead of doing it with houses, they were doing it with cars. I mean, almost exactly the same thing. Subprime thing. You want a car? Come on, we can get. When I was in LA, man, I saw people that didn't even have jobs driving around in those Maseratis because they couldn't sell them. They were giving them away. And then those cars getting repossessed. Like a matter of months later, 90 to 120 days later, those cars are getting repossessed. You know what I mean? It was crazy. The banks didn't care. I mean, Brother Mandrell's in the building. What's good, fam? You're like, grocery stores are far more expensive today, man. Yeah, food done went way up, bro. Way up. And you ain't lying about that. So, Brother Lucky here, Lucky Lopez was talking about, the banks just forgot about their lending standards. They were just giving people, and if you had a heartbeat, you could drive off the lot in, a car, a Challenger, or a Maserati or whatever. That is what was a Chrysler 300. That's what was going on. It was crazy. People were driving off the lot in Camaros. And where are we now? Record high number of repossessions and defaults.
With how banks look at cars. Now, this one screws up a lot of people. Now, every bank has different things that they like. Some banks like newer cars with lower miles. Some banks like older cars. Some banks like American cars, Japanese cars, trucks. But no bank, believe it or not, likes luxury vehicles. So if you keep getting turned down for a luxury car, you need to talk to some of your banks. Even though you're putting big down payment down, they may not do that. They won't finance you on a $30,000 Mercedes, but they'll probably finance you on, let's say, a $50,000 Chevy Silverado. That's the way some banks work. You have to just find out what their lending criteria is. Now, every single car on a dealership floor is going to have what's called an emblem number. This is a risk assessment of the vehicle. Now, traditionally, the way this works is if it's an American or Japanese car, it's probably going to be a 1 to 5, which means it's not that much of a risk. It's a good car where they're going to buy it. Parts are going to be cheap to fix it, and it has a good resale value. Now, what happens if the car is over 5? Let's say it's a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 emblem. These are like the Volvos, Mercedes, BMWs, Audis, Cadillacs, cars that basically tend to have a higher threshold of risk. Now, when they look at these cars, they're thinking, if I have to take this car back, they're looking at your credit, which we'll get into in a minute, but usually they're always worried about what happens when I get this car back. Am I going to be lost a lot of money? It's going to cost a lot of money to fix. So that's why I tell a lot of people, when you're trying to rebuild your credit or you're trying to get a car, try to get a basic car. Quit trying to get a high mileage Mercedes or a high mileage Cadillac. It's not going to work. A lot of the banks are turning you down. And that's what we're seeing now. People that were approved for cars traditionally had no problem getting those loans. Now that they're trying to go back and buy the exact same car for more money that's a little bit newer, banks are turning them down because they're tightening down. They don't want to buy a used Mercedes with 100,000 miles and give you single digit interest. They're going to whack you at like 18% interest. And instead of getting maybe 60 months or 72 months, they're probably going to hit you at 48 months. So all these things start to come into factor. Next, we're going to be talking about
I remember when 36 months was the standard for a car loan. 36 months. I mean, man, 60 and 70, man, it's crazy how they just run it out. Now, vehicles are made better. They don't tend to break down as much, but they do break down. And you need warranty when you get an older vehicle and you're financing it. You're going to need warranty to cover the time that you're financing that car, because something's going to go wrong. And and there are a lot of aftermarket warranties out there where you just pay a copay. You pay like maybe $300, excuse me, pay like $300, and that's it. And then whatever needs to get fixed, get fixed. Excuse me, but you're paying maybe $200 a month for that warranty. Like, it's insurance, basically. You're paying $200 a month, whatever it is. Then if something goes wrong, you bring it in. You could take it to the manufacturer. You take it straight to BMW or Chevy or Ford or whatever, to their service department. You pay your $300 copay and you walk away. And the service rep has to call your insurance people, and they just go back and forth. The car is going to get fixed. It's going to get fixed properly. But that's an additional cost. So if your car note is $300, $400, you got to pay this $200 a month for the warranty. Right now, you up to, $500-$600. But all that needs to be taken into consideration, because your car goes down, you're done. You can't make it to work. Can't get the kids. Can't do whatever. You're done. And I mean, if you're driving around, I remember I had an X5, at a BMW X5. This was back in the early 2000s, and the radiator went out, bro. That was a $3,000 fix, I think it was. I paid, my copay was like $250. I took it to the BMW dealership, and I came back later on that day and I had a brand new radiator on that joint. So, and I mean, and I paid my copay, plus I had to pay for like maybe another 5% for a little extra thing. But the big cost, the radiator, that was covered under the warranty.
Individual. Now, we all know that credit plays a big role, but also the big things that come into there is your actual credit history. A lot of people think that if you have a 700 credit score, you're automatically going to get approved for whatever you want. That is absolute BS. During the pandemic, yes, because they went off of numbers. A lot of the automatic approvals that you used to get online have pretty much stopped because banks lost their asses when it came to giving out loans just on a credit score, because there are so many people out here with a 700 credit score that got a Macy's card and nothing else on their credit. Now they want to see history of credit. Now, I did a video a while back talking about exotic cars and how to get finance for them. Back in the day, you had to have multiple loans to build yourself up to $200,000-$300,000, and then they'll give you a loan. But during the pandemic, I had friends that have never owned an exotic car before get a Lamborghini Urus, a Rolls Royce, a Bentley. People that should have never got these cars because banks were just lending like crazy. But now that banks are losing so much money, they're going back to those traditional ways of thinking. They're going to look at your credit and be like, okay, Mr. John Smith, have you had a car over $40,000? If the answer is no, then why are they going to give you a loan for $60,000? They don't see it. Even though you have good credit, why are they going to give you more? Now, if your last loan was like $30,000, they may say, okay, we'll give you $45,000 max on your new loan. They're not going to just jump you up to 60. Some banks may, some banks might, but you can start to see banks tightening down when it comes to this. So every time I say credit crunch, this is what I'm referring to. Another thing that's hurting individuals is the fact that they don't know how to downgrade. I've never seen so many people making $45,000 a year driving $100,000 cars. It blows my mind. If you make 40 grand a year, you should not have $1,000 car payment. You're eating up way too much of your money. And the next thing we'll be talking about is the actual income. So when it comes to money,
And that was the part that Jaspreet Singh was talking about, right? The financial discipline, man. Why are people doing it? Because I mean, hey, man, fake it till you make it, right? I lived in LA, bro. Everybody was driving something European when I was out there. I got to LA in 1998, and I was on a bus, bro, and I'm just watching the cars as they go by or we drive by, and I'm like, bro, BMW, Mercedes, you know what I mean? Audi, Porsche. You know, I mean, then you would see a Ferrari, see a Lamborghini, you know what I mean? See a Bentley. That's when that Bentley coupe hit. It was everywhere, bro. Everyone in LA was driving nice cars. There's a bar back at the club at the end of the night, or when they pull up to work, you see him pull up in a drop top 3 series. It's like, wow. I mean, that was LA. I mean, that's what they were doing out there. You know, I came from a place where if you had yourself a nice Nissan Maxima or Honda Accord, like, bro, you were doing big things, man. They put some wheels on there, bro. Like, man, you Mr. Big. You bring that, but you take that Honda down to Miami or LA, you're gonna feel like you ain't nothing. And a lot of people get caught up in that. I gotta have this, I gotta look this way, or whatever. And that was before social media. So just imagine what it's like now with all the social media and everybody putting their highlight reels up there and people faking it till they make it. Like, folks are, it's just, I'll go down to Miami and I'll be, kicking it with my buddy Fresh or some other people that I know, and they have exotic cars. It wouldn't be nothing for me to sit in the car and take some pictures and be like this or that or whatever. But I'm not doing that, man. Like, oh, you riding around in that? Like, no, I'm not driving a Ferrari or Lamborghini or Rolls Royce. Nah, not me. When I was at the airport, I plenty of friends who had airplanes. I wasn't taking pictures like, look at me on my plane. But that's what people are doing these days. People are going out there, faking it till they make it. They want you to believe that they're doing way better. There's no getting around that the average American is only making between $65,000 and $73,000 a year. That's the median income. There's no getting around that. What does that mean? That means the vast majority of Americans are making under that. Right? There's only, 15, 16% of Americans are making over $100,000 a year. There's no change in that. That means 85% of Americans aren't making that kind of money. And that number, and more and more people are losing their jobs. It is what it is. We have Brother Jack Black in the building. What's good, Knight? What's good, Knight? Good to see you, bro. Good to see you. Let's get back to it.
A lot of banks like to see a big down payment. So that's always an important thing. So we'll put that there. But the other big thing is they want to know about your income. Now, income is where it's screwing over a lot of people when it comes to approvals, because people don't make the money they should to afford these cars. Because remember those people that are making $45,000 a year with $1,000 car payment? Those days are done. Now, if let's say you're making $3,000 a month before taxes, they're going to tell you that you can't afford any more than 15% of your actual income. So that is $450. So $450 is your budget. And if interest rates are at 10, 15%, you can see that you can't buy anything over, $28,000? You have to stay under your budget. So you trying to go to the Mercedes dealership and buy a G-Wagon? That's not happening. And we're seeing more and more people being turned down because of this, because they don't realize that where they line up when it comes to affordability. That's why I tell everybody, go to the bank, get pre-approved, because they will look at your income and your debt, and they will tell you exactly, hey, Mr. Smith, you owe this much money. We're going to give you an allocation of $500, $800, $900. This is your payment budget. This is what you have to stay under. And I think this will wake up a lot of people in the US, because there are so many people with absolute horrific credit that want the nicest cars with no money down. Now, I don't say this to rag on people, but it's a real thing. As a dealer, I see it almost every day. Majority of the people that are running applications right now have a repo that's pretty much pending, or they're buried in a car and they can't get out of it. And instead of saying, I just want to buy something cheaper, something more affordable, they're trying to buy something that's just absolutely astronomical, and it's like, these are the things that are causing us to be in this financial crisis. So now that you know the 3 things the banks are looking at, this is the most important thing. You need to figure out your budget and then find a car that fits all of these things. If you have bad credit, let's look at something maybe American or Japanese with lower miles, somewhere maybe above 2015 and below 21. That's where you want to stay because it's a good car, that's a solid car that you'll be able to afford and rebuild your credit. You do not want to rebuild your credit with an expensive car. I see this happening all the time. We make fun of a lot of people buying Dodge Chargers at 29% interest. It's a real thing. There's people out there getting buried in these cars, a 30 whatever $9,000 car that they have a $1,200 monthly payment on. Don't be that guy. Buy something cheap, write it for 6 months to a year, refinance it, build your credit up. Go to your credit union, get a secured credit card. You give them $200, $300, they'll give you a card, borrow against it. They have a secured CD where you can give them $1,000 and they'll hold it and they'll make you make monthly payments on it. After 12 months, you'll get the CD back with interest and you'll build credit. It's a win-win all the way around. American.
This is a thing, you know, and Brother Jack is saying, he's like, yeah, man, they just want people to buy their courses. Yeah, a lot of people need these courses. Be careful what courses you buy and who you rock with. But what he's talking about, rebuilding credit, and you know, a lot of people use, you know, car loans to help them rebuild their credit or whatever. That people get themselves in trouble. What he's saying is true. You know, just you kind of get out there. Like, one will get me a car, but I gotta have an Audi. Like, nah, bro, you better go out there and get you a Honda, man. Get you a, you know, get you a Toyota. Get you something that's not gonna break down. Like, get you some, you know, get the best car that you can get, the best bang for your buck. So, you know, you don't have to really worry about maintenance. If you can get one that's still like, you know, pre-owned, like maybe you got yourself a certified used, which is gonna come with a service agreement, it's gonna come with warranty. That's what you want to get. Because the last thing you need, how did you get in trouble in the first place? You had a car, you paid too much for it, and then something went wrong, like something broke or whatever. Challengers and charges, bro, you see them all over the place. Everybody, I didn't realize people were paying so much money for their Challengers and charges, man, like $1,200 a month for a Challenger or Charger or a Camaro. Like, wow. I just didn't know, but you see it. And then when you go to the car lots, man, you see those Challengers and Chargers stacked up. They're everywhere, bro.
Need to focus more on building their credit more than ever because now credit worthiness is a major factor of why people are getting turned down when it comes to these new auto loans. Because even though you've had maybe multiple car loans and maybe you've had a few payments, they're going to be looking at your income and they're going to be looking at your DTI more than ever. And this is why so many people are basically being turned down because they see you with student loans, credit card, I think balances are an all-time high. So student loans are an all-time high. So they see all this stuff and they're getting really scared and they don't want to finance people. Now, another thing that people need to know about is when you're shopping at a dealership, banks actually charge us money to buy the deals. So if you have good credit and you're a prime customer, 9 times out of 10, they really don't charge us that much money, maybe $50, $100, whatever. But when you're subprime and deep subprime, we're talking big dollars. Now, if you're trying to buy this, let's say a $25,000 Mercedes and it's used and you have really bad credit, the bank is going to look at me and be like, hey, look, this is a risky car. This is a risky customer. So how are they going to offset these two risks? With a lot of money. So first thing they're going to do is they're going to ask the customer for a big down payment. Second, they're going to say, hey, you know what? We want to make sure that they can afford it. So they need to make really good income. And the last one that pretty much kills the deal is what's called a buy fee. When a bank buys a deal from a dealership, they actually charge us a fee to buy it. So let's say that car's $25,000 and they're really worried about you making the payments. They could tell me, hey, Lucky, we'll buy this Mercedes deal for the customer, but we're going to charge you $3,000 to $5,000 to buy this deal. So that means your loan is $25,000, but I only get a check for $20,000 to $23,000. That's it. So these are some of the things that you need to know about. When banks start charging money, don't be surprised when dealers say, hey, you got to put more money down or we have to put you in a different car. And customers always get upset. Why? I want this car. I want this car. And they keep telling you it's not working. It's because the bank is asking for a ton of money to put down on this car. But if you were to buy, you know, the simple, affordable economy car, you don't need all this money. Now you only need maybe a small sliver to get approved for this small economy car. And this is how it works. And so when I share this with consumers, they usually freak out. They have no idea that banks actually charge dealers money to buy deals. And on top of that,
I didn't know that they did that. I ain't gonna lie. Now it makes sense, you know, coming up back in the day, like when the dealers would dig in and not want to do with deals because it's costing them money. It's like, bro, we're not going to lose money on you. So either you're going to have to cough up that extra $3,000 that the banks want us to pay, or you can't get into this vehicle. And they already took a boat ton of money from you. We need $3,000 more, we need $3,500 more. What? Yeah, the bank won't do the deal unless this $3,500 got to come from somewhere. I didn't know that, and it makes sense. So dealers are in a bind, just like, the banks have put themselves in a bind. And this is where we are. It's going to be like this for a while until money gets cheap again. I don't know when that's going to be. Someone has to call Jerome Powell and ask him when he's going to lower rates. This is why everybody wants interest rates to go down. But if they lower interest rates, then the inflation numbers go up, and inflation is a problem. Like, and then we get into like currency issues and stuff like that, like what Jaspreet was talking about, what George Gammon talks about. This is why it's time to just endure the pain. America needs to endure the pain and get off the drug. The drug is not cocaine or anything like that. The drug here in this case, the addiction is to cheap money and buying stuff that we can't afford. America needs to come off of that.
And another reason why people are getting turned down left and right is because of recourse. And this is something that everybody needs to know about. As a dealer, when I sell you a car and you have subprime to deep subprime credit, some of these banks ask me to do what's called a payment recourse. That means I'm on the hook for 1 to maybe 3 payments. So if you don't make your first 3 payments, that means that the bank calls me up and says, hey, Lucky, that money we gave you for this Mercedes? Well, we need it back. So I have to give them back the money. And now I have to chase you and the car to go repo it back. And that's another reason why so many dealers are going out of business, because now most of these people during the pandemic moved. We don't know where they're at. So now you're chasing this guy that hasn't made a payment on his car, and you guys may laugh and say, screw the dealer. But this is putting lots of dealers out of business, because there's a lot of people that buy cars they can't afford, and they never register them, they never insure them. I mean, go to any city in America, you'll see tons of these cars driving around with no insurance, no plates, temp tags from like 2020. This is why, because they don't have the money to register them. They're going to have a bunch of fees. And now the dealership that basically sold that car is probably chasing it. So they're not going to register it because they don't want them to know where the car's at. And so just imagine, as a dealer, if you sell, 100 cars a month, and 2 cars a month go up for, let's say, repo, and you have to pay the bank back. We're talking, let's say this is a $30,000 car. That's $60,000 you have to come out of your pocket while you chase this car, and hopefully you find it. Now, this has happened to me a few times. I actually had a guy where he moved to California and just disappeared. Thought he was a good guy. He was just a scumbag. And unfortunately, I lost $25,000 like that. Gone. Bank didn't care. I had to give back the bank their money because we had a contract. They had to make at least 2 payments. He didn't even make one. And so now, for the last, I think, 5 years, I'm still looking for that car. Can't find it. I'm eventually going to find it. But that's what banks and dealerships have to deal with. So there's all these factors coming into why people are not getting approved. So
when Lucky finds that car is going to be trash. So basically, Lucky bought that car. Like, the bank took the money from him. He signed I know what he was thinking. It's like, dude's going to make at least 2 payments. I know dude's going to make at least 2 payments. Dude didn't even make 1 payment. He had to get a bank the money back. If that happens 2 or 3 times, 4 times, but you could be looking at $100,000. You get to $100,000 quick. Now, that's just really bad on your part. If you enter into that deal, you get 4 people. That could just be luck, but that's insane. That's where we are right now. And yeah, I've seen what he's talking about. People's riding around on temporary tags. They're like 2 years old, or people that don't even put tags on their car. That was big in California, because in Cali, when I got there in the late 90s, they didn't have temporary tags on the cars. They had a strip that they will put on the windshield. The dealer would just put this information, tape it to the windshield, to the inside of the windshield, and that would act as your temporary tag. So they would leave the bad tags on the car, or no tags at all. And it was just so many people driving around with no tags. I remember when my cousin came to visit me, he's like, bro, I can't believe all these cars around with no tags. All these high-end cars, low-end cars, whatever. I'm like, yeah, man, they don't do temporary tags. Now they do. Now they have paper tags that they actually do temporary tags. But back then, they didn't. And it was just like, you couldn't tell what car was stolen, what car was registered, what car wasn't registered. You just didn't know, just driving around. And a lot of people were using LLCs and companies to buy cars back then. So it wasn't even registered to an individual, was registered to a corporation or some other entity. I got so many stories, bro. So many stories.
If you've learned anything, please like and subscribe. I truly appreciate it. We're on the road to hopefully hitting 1 million this year. I think we're going to break 450,000 probably by this video. And if you have any questions, please put in the comment section below. Did you guys know that banks charge fees for dealers to buy deals? Also, did you know that these 3 factors actually play a crucial role when it comes to you buying a car? Also, if you knew that Mercedes and luxury cars are actually frowned upon by banks, definitely chime in, because I tell people this all the time. They're like, oh, everybody wants a Mercedes. Banks don't want the Mercedes. They want the regular economy cars that will get them the easy money every single day, day in and day out. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Also, if you could do me a huge favor, definitely check out my company. It's called LoanBridge.ai. It's a software that helps track your cars. So whether you're a dealership, a rental car company, or you own a bank full of auto loan portfolios, this helps track your car. And also it gives you really cool vehicle reports. So our goal is to basically get better than Carfax when it comes to vehicle reports. But right now we're in beta. So I'd love for you guys to sign up. It's a 14-day free trial. Check it out. Let me know what you think. And then if you have any input, I truly appreciate it. Anyways, I'd like to thank you guys so much for watching again, and we'll see you next video.
And there you have it. Lucky Lopez. Shout out to him. Shout out to Minority Mindset as well, bro. Like, so what I love about YouTube, guys. You gotta get out here and look at this stuff. You gotta go out here and just see what's going on and do your best to adjust to what's going on. The car industry is just in a mess right now. And you know, a lot of people with bad credit or whatever who are just barely able to get loans, you know, they're walking away from their loans. Their cars are being, you know, taken back, or they're turning them in. Danielle DiMartino Booth talked about one of the most Google searches right now is how to get my car back. So you had right now we're dealing with the initial, over the past, you know, 6 months to a year, been dealing with people who they know what time it is. They've had bad credit, whatever. They had trouble. It is what it is. We're dealing with them, right? And now moving forward, we're going to be dealing with folks who had fair credit and they just got into a situation where they got laid off or whatever, and they turned, you know, they give their cars up. We're getting into that pool. And I think that pool is going to hurt more because the dealers weren't expecting it from them, and neither were the banks. So, you know, like, again, this is why it's so bad in the automotive industry right now. And banks are going to continue to tighten lending standards because they got all these bad loans on the books. And what are they going to do? They got to move it off their books somehow. So what they're going to do is just not loan money. Will there be some sort of package from the government? Will there be some sort of bailout for the companies and some stimmy money for Main Street? Probably. This is what George Gammon was talking about. Probably. Is it going to be a stimmy check? Is it going to be guaranteed income program, the GIP? Is it going to be universal basic income? What's it going to be? What's it going to look like? But we know the commercial real estate thing is about to just implode. The car business, the car industry is already blown up. Like, it's crazy what's going on with that. It's kind of collapsed on itself. People are hurting. They're already talking about people refusing to pay rent. You know, people in their mortgages seem to be good, but they're taking money out of their 401ks to support their lifestyles, to buy groceries. And then we also have the buy now, pay later. Things are not looking good. Things are not looking good, boys and girls. And this is just the beginning, right? So I just wanted to do that real quick. I just want to get in a quick show. Tonight I'm going to be out promoting my butt off. And then tomorrow we have the show. So leading up to the show is a lot of work that old Uncle Saint got to do. Because when you're out there trying to do some stuff, it ain't like you got a team of people going to come in and do all the heavy lifting, literally lift up the heavy furniture and move it from this spot to that spot. I got to do it. Me and Darren got to do it. We're in there. We're going to have to set the place up. We're going to have to make sure that the talent is happy. We got talent flying in tonight. We're going to have to go around and show them Tampa and promote the show as well. And we got to do all that, get up early in the morning, make sure everything is good. You know, there's some issues like with the venue. We got to make sure the venue is ready for us to get in there so we can start making changes. Sometimes there just aren't enough hours in the day. And then once the show is over, we're going to have this show. The doors open at 9. The show begins at 10. The comedy show will be over by midnight. But then we're just gonna have a party because it's Friday night. So we're in there. We got a great DJ. Is my man Trey. He's calling himself Too Sweet. He might change his name to, I forget what he said, but he might be changing his name. But anyway, he's gonna be spinning. People are gonna be partying. Folks in Tampa like to go until 2 a.m, sometimes 3. So let's bank on like, okay, maybe we kick it for another couple hours. And then after that, we got to put everything back. It is going to be a long 48 hours for Uncle Saint. It's going to be a long uncle. It's going to be brother. Dino Dinosaurs in the building. What's good? He's like, remember that shoulder? You hired chairs for the show, man. Hey, man, the venue has all of the seating in-house. We just have to move this stuff around. Yes, I've been real mindful of my shoulder. My shoulder was down for a bit. I've been real mindful of that shoulder. But this is how it works. This is why it's hard being a man, bro. You got to just go out here and tough it out, man. So, but yes, thank you, bro. I'm going to be mindful. And if we're successful and I hurt my shoulder in the process, you know what? It don't hurt as much when you got a couple dollars. You made a couple bucks. You can do whatever you got to do. Maybe get a massage. Maybe go sit in the sauna, sit in the hot tub. You know, you can rehab better. But I'm in it now, bro. Like, I can't stop until the mission is complete. So appreciate that, though. I really appreciate that. I gotta go. I gotta go prepare to go pick up my little girl. I gotta make some phone calls. People have been calling me. We gotta take care of business. We gotta make the plan for tonight, and then we gotta execute tomorrow. So you guys won't see me probably until Monday. We'll probably be talking about some dating and stuff like that because people tend to really like that. We didn't even have a cool young woman to talk to this week because I've been busy with the other stuff. So I'm gonna try to bring somebody on next week so we can continue those conversations. I really like talking to the ladies, man, getting their perspective. You gotta have it. You gotta have their perspective. We need to know what they're seeing and what they're dealing with so we can properly advise guys on how to modify their game or whatever, or what to expect when they get out there. So we're going to continue to do that. Keep looking for the shorts. I'm going to keep making shorts and putting them out there. And I appreciate it. That's that. You know what I mean? Thank you, brother. You're like, good luck and belly laughs for all. Man, I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much, bro. We make this thing happen, bro. Who knows? We might be all the way over there in London, man, doing a show, Comedy Arc in London. I think that'd be cool. Like Comedy Arc Liverpool, Comedy Arc London, Comedy Arc, West London, East London. We might come over there, bro. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be something? So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Appreciate y'all rocking with me. This is not our normal time. We normally don't come on until 6, but I just wanted to get this one in real quick. And now it's time to go out here and work hard, man. So I'll be talking to y'all soon. I'll be putting up little clips from the phone over the next 2 days, just so you guys know that Uncle Saint is functioning and I'm good to go. And then I'll be back Monday. We'll have a proper show on Monday, and we'll probably be talking about dating or somewhere in that space. Who knows? But we'll definitely be. Maybe we'll talk about what's going on with Fresh and Fit or whatever podcast. Or, Access Vegas, or Coach Greg Adams, or Rich Cooper. Who knows? But we're going to be somewhere in that vein. I like those conversations. We're going to continue having them. I also like talking about the economy and what's going on with finances. I think these shows are good. I have a lot of people who hit me up and they really appreciate these shows. And we're just grabbing these videos and making these points and reading these articles. We're going to keep doing that as well. Why are we doing all this? Because we really want to know. And that's what it is. I'm D.L. Saint. This is I Really Want to Know podcast. I'm going to holler at y'all later. Peace.
Nothing like I've ever seen. It's just a thing of beauty.
Darn, that's the end.